Happy Tuesday. Hey, hey, hey. So while we wait for Jared to come on, y'all go ahead. Let me know how your day has been going. How is your week so far? Thank y'all for checking in with us and coming to hang out with us. So if you have any questions or anything for myself or Jared, there down at the bottom right side, there is a question mark. Put your question in there, or if there's something that you want us to address in the conversation, put it in the little question mark so we can make sure to get to it. Pull him in this little session. We're waiting for him. We're waiting for him. It says we're waiting for you. So let me try it again because I had already sent a request for you. It says unable to join for some reason. Is your account like private or something? Are you being difficult? Because hey, bro, how's it going?
What's going on? I was trying to do it from my computer, but it's not letting me. So
see, that's what happens whenever you try to use the old school Apple that has like, you know, the green apple on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was playing Number Munchers on this first. So
yeah. You were playing
Minesweeper, Number Munchers, all of that.
Oh my god. Well, thank you so much for you know, getting on your Android to have this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, so for those of y'all that's just joining in, like I said, if there's anybody that has any questions or there's a topic that y'all want us to address in this chat, there is a question mark down at the bottom right side of your screen. Feel free to go ahead and put the question in there, and Jared and I will make sure that we get to it throughout the course of this conversation. But before we get started, for the people, you know, who don't know who you are, give us a quick rundown on who you are, what you're about, and, you know, just a quick little note about who Jared is.
Yeah, so Jared, I mean, it's just simply, I'm just a person out here trying to do more, do better than the previous generation. I'm out here just trying to work with my friends and associates, just trying to build as groups and as an individual, just trying to continue to better myself and help other people do the same. I mean, it's a pretty simple concept, but people make it more complicated than it has to be. It's really simple. Just do better. Each one teach one, and we can all win.
Come on, somebody. Well, speaking of like it just being so easy, so I have to let people know how I stumbled upon asking Jared to join me and having this conversation, because Jared and I actually know each other, shocker, from the fitness world. But we became friends, you know, through working out and being at gyms and whatnot. And a while back, we ran into each other, and we went to go and grab a bite to eat. This is just two friends going and getting something to eat. And we started having a conversation, and I find out something that I was not aware of when it comes to, you know, my gym buddy, was that Jared is very involved in investing, and, you know, not just saying, okay, well, I'm going to, you know, earn my paycheck and go enjoy my life, but investing in a real and a responsible and a way that made sense. Like, to me, if anybody was to hear the story of what you told me, it would make total sense as to why you're doing it. So can you give a brief rundown of like what that conversation was? I mean, not the whole conversation, because there were drinks involved.
Right. So, it started, really it was a congratulatory thing because of your daughter getting into LSU. So, congratulations to that. And so we continue to talk about your podcast and different topics that you had people on discussing. And I was like, well, I talked to Dre, big ups to Dre, who's involved a lot with what you do. So we had more conversations. Come to find out, we were just like, hey, well, what do you think about, the layout, or what do you think about the different ways I'm doing things? And that's kind of how we got the ball rolling, talking about what you were doing. And that led into kind of how I got into what I'm doing. And basically, you talk about investing with a purpose. I grew up with parents that were extremely fiscally responsible. So my parents were all about saving, but that was kind of it. They invested in places that were safe, the bond fund, mutual funds, things like that. But when you have parents that grew up, Southern Black conservative, fiscally conservative parents, they don't really take chances like that. They don't put their money into things that maybe this isn't it. I don't exactly know. So let's just put it here where it's safe, savings accounts drawing, 1% interest, different things like that. But we're at a different time and a different place. And luckily I've been able to elevate myself along with some other friends and have been able to kind of be in a situation where you have a little bit more money to invest. So when you're looking at what to do, why not real estate, and why not real estate in your hometown and in certain underdeveloped areas where things are either being completely gentrified or things are being neglected. So, we had a conversation about, buying up our own neighborhoods, places where we live, places where we, we're playing all types of games as kids, running through these neighborhoods and things. You still know people that live there. You got friends who have relatives that live there, but none of them, it's odd, you talk about it, none of them own these homes.
Yep.
None of them own these properties. These properties are owned by either people who've owned them for many years or out-of-town investors that come in and just buy this stuff up and continue to either gentrify it and push these people out to make it not affordable for them to live there. Well, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? So we looked at it as, my partner and I, who I think she's on here. Hi, Angel.
Yeah.
And I know you know Angel and her family very well. She kind of came to me with an idea that we had talked about, several years ago, and we wanted to, buy a duplex and do Section 8. Now, the big thing about Section 8 is while the government subsidizes living for those people, that's a guaranteed income, but you're also doing something to help somebody else out. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of people are scared of renting to Section 8 tenants because there's such a stigma behind, oh, why are these people on Section 8? Are they dope fiends? Are they, gangsters, or, what have you? But a lot of it is you got a young single mother with 2 or 3 children who just needs some extra help. These people these are not, bad people. There's a stigma out there like that, but these are just, some of them are older people who, the only income they have is fixed income. So you're really doing a service to the community by doing this. And, oh, by the way, it's not bad that you have somebody else, the government, paying into equity in something that you own.
Yeah, and I love that. So I like the fact that you brought up that word, because that was another thing that we mentioned in our conversation. We were talking about, we're talking about inclusion, and you said inclusion doesn't matter when people don't have any equity in it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so here it is, this is obviously something that you all have equity in, because this is where you grew up. This is where this is where all your childhood memories are tied to, right? And whether it was that you lived in the middle of it, or this is where you hung out and played, or this was the people that you had an affection for growing up. These were the kids that you played with. This was their neighborhood. This was, right. Like I said, this is a part of your history. And to be able to, to grow and get to a place, be elevated to a place to where not only have you taken the fiscal mentality that your parents have had, but also you built on that and started to expand beyond where they are. And now you're reaching back to where you were, and hopefully, building that area up, and maybe encouraging somebody who otherwise, they don't have those people in their family who would take chances like that. They don't have people in their family who would even remotely consider, you know what, let me go back and buy back the block, buy back the area where we grew up at and where we hung out at. And so they realize, oh, this is something that's possible, because now it's not somebody from some other neighborhood or somebody who's owned it for generations after generations and is so detached from it. They just, check, I'm getting a check in. I don't care what's happening to the property. I don't care what it looks like. I'm getting paid, so it doesn't matter to me. But you actually have equity there, and you're invested in not just the property, but you're invested in the people that are there. So you want to do it the right way. You want to do it responsibly. And it's beyond just, okay, well, let me check a box. Okay, so I own this property. Right. Yay, I make money. But sure, like you said, you get a little residual income, but you also are building back into a community that clearly needs it, that needs the intelligence that you have, that needs the money that you have, and the resources that you and Angel have been able to bring back into the community to build it back up. So when it comes to like the people around you outside of yourself and Angel, when you're looking at the especially looking at the Black community, what do you think is like the biggest downfall when it comes to taking those sort of chances and investing in that way?
The understanding of it. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. So we don't do these things because we don't know. And a lot of us who do know sit here and oftentimes, unfortunately, hoard the information for ourselves because it's like, man, if I got to be the one to get it. I got to have it, and I can't give you the game because the more I give you, well, what if you surpass me? What if you overtake me for what I'm trying to do? And at the end of the day, like we talked about before, there's enough for everybody. There's enough for everybody. We can't go buy it all. This person can't go buy it all. So why not sit down, talk to friends who have the same goals, or even if they don't have the same, sometimes people don't know they have a goal until you can give them, like, oh, now I'm really interested in this. I want to see what I can do. Yep. So now you sit down, you go piece by piece over the financial piece of it, the logistical landscape, and they understand it. And, Angel has been really good about, taking a lot of our friends through, driving them by the properties we own and going, step by step, this is what we did. This is what we did. And I have those conversations too. And the thing is, we were fortunate enough to jump out here and buy 9 just out of the gate. And some people look at that and they're like, I can't, it's not about that. It's not the number. That's just what we were able to do, by the grace of God, because we had, some money set aside. And full disclosure, I bet on us. So I took the money that I had, making no interest in the savings account for my son's college fund, and I put it into this because I saw the bigger picture. Yeah. There's equity there. If we need to sell it for him to go to school, we sell it. Those different kind of things. But it's much better than just sitting there having the money sitting in a savings account drawing, a percent, 0.5% a year.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not going to do anything. So, back to giving people the game, just talking to them. I mean, every time I come home now, I'm having conversations with people about, what we're doing. How can we get started? And luckily, people that we know, Angel and I, they've started doing it. So we have been able to get other people on board where they're creating LLCs. They're going out to the banks. They're getting their, financial statements together. They're working with the realtor that we work with. And they're going out here and they're buying these properties as well. And they're seeing the fruits of their labor, materialize into something that they never thought possible before, the last 8 or 9 months.
Well, and I'm sure the people that are watching this, they may feel strongly one way or the other about what it is that I'm about to say. But this is something that I mentioned at the table with you. When it comes to the Black community, when you look at how we as a minority community function, and when you look at, say, the Asian community and how they function, they want, the Asian community seems to walk in lockstep with each other when it comes to building and growing. They lean on each other. They connect to each other. They will back each other up. But when it comes to us as the Black community, and like I said, follow me here, I take that all the way back to the slave mentality, right? You had that one slave who needed to be in good with master. So he's holding on to everything. He needs to make sure that the other ones stay over there because I don't want to share this good favor with all of them because I might end up back out in the fields with them. So you know what? Let me stay on the good side. Let me stay right here, and any information that I may know that could help them out, I'm not going to share it with everybody because I need to make sure that I'm taken care of. And unfortunately, here we are in 2021, still with that, what I consider to be slave mentality, because we're running to these big banks. We're running to these outside resources, giving them our money to help us build in our spaces. That doesn't make sense to me. But when you look at the Asian community, they all work within each other. If one has made it, they look at the next one and say, okay, come on, like, we're going to help you and we're going to show you. And granted, yes, they're not talking about just handing out money, but we'll go ahead and, and front you $10,000 for you to open up this store. But the first $10,000 that you make, that's mine.
Right.
And it stays within their community, and they just continue to recycle everything amongst themselves. And I just wish as a community, as a Black, woman, is something that I'm invested in, right? I wish that we would look at each other and, and sit across from the table with our friends and have these conversations and not be afraid to give away the game, because that game matters for all of us. It matters because, granted, you don't even care about sharing your own neighborhood, but here it is, you and I are having a conversation, and this is information that I can take back and go back to my community back in Louisiana and say, okay, well, you know what, the rules and the laws may be a little bit different here in Louisiana. However, I can use whatever it is that applies in
Right.
Louisiana. I can use those things, right? So for me, that's the hard part, is whenever I feel like there's so many of us, and that's why I started doing this podcast and doing these live chats, because there's a wealth of knowledge amongst us everyday people that we are missing out on in simply just having conversations and being okay helping the next man up. But that's not what we do. Another issue that I see in the Black community is when it comes to investing, we don't, we're more concerned about what name brand, shoes we're wearing, what car we're driving. And meanwhile, you have, the white community or the Asian community, they are running around here with, clothes from Target or Walmart or the thrift store, and they living in mansions. They got, major investments, and we put our focus on the wrong things. And so when people like you step out and start having these conversations, it's like, whoa, you want me to spend, $5,000 on what? But it's like, the reality is you got about $5,000 worth of shoes and handbags in your closet.
Yep.
That serve no purpose. That whenever you pass on, there's no legacy left, right? There's nothing to be, okay, so the next person behind you may be able to wear some fly kicks and carry a nice bag, but like you said, where's your equity? Where does your equity, whenever you leave, where does it go? In shoes that will end up getting thrown to a thrift store, and then somebody like my kids will go and buy it for beans.
Yep.
It's a huge problem, and I don't know how we get past that whenever it comes to making us make sense. Someone made the comment and said that the Black community was raised to be careful, not sorry, and that goes right on back to that slave mentality. You got to tiptoe around things, like don't take a chance.
Yep.
And we have got to get away from that. So you and Angel started like buying out your community, like buying out properties in your community. About how long ago? When did you guys start doing that?
Maybe like 8 or 9 months ago. We haven't been doing it that long.
Wow. Okay. So what would you say was the hardest part about, stepping out like that? What was the toughest part?
The toughest part is, the financial piece of it. When you go, once again, you got a young Black dude and an Asian woman walking into a bank trying to buy something. You know what that looks like, off gate. So, that's when you hear stories and you understand what some of the deals that other people are getting, that's the part that can get frustrating. So when you go out here and do this, you got to understand this is no different than any other piece of life. There's going to be roadblocks, there's going to be bumps, but you can't get discouraged. You might not get the same, deal or same opportunity that the next person got. When your credit might be better, you might have more money. That's just the way that works too. You can't get frustrated and be like, man, I quit because it didn't work for me this way. There's still so many opportunities. You just got to kind of just stay the course and just keep moving. But I would say the most frustrating piece of it was dealing with the bank. And we've since moved on to another bank. So you live, you learn. But that's, I would say definitely the financial piece, dealing with the bank was probably the hardest part.
And I totally lost my train of thought. But so for those that are not aware, Angel is from the Asian communities and a woman. So do you think having her as your partner made things like a little bit easier for you guys to kind of navigate some spaces? Having
probably
her...
the funny part is, I think maybe she saw, and she's obviously not oblivious to any of this, but I think she saw once people started looking at me, they was kind of looking at her like, well, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It probably made some things a little bit easier for us as a whole, but probably made it more difficult for her. So she might have a more jaded perspective now. Like, I know this is real, but I didn't walk into a bank with, my Black friend before trying to do this, or I didn't go, a specific instance. We went to look at one property and they were asking us for our personal financials and everything. And it's like, why? That's not required. You don't need our personal financial
Just to go
statement.
look at the property?
they wanted, yeah, we were getting ready to put an offer in, and they wanted to know all of our personal, like, you don't need that. We have letters from the bank to say we're good. So why are you trying to do this to us when we're very aware of who you are and what you do, and you didn't ask the white dudes for it?
Wow. Yeah. So I guess, considering that a lot of us, because I also have some of my friends back at home, a collective of guys who have in essence started doing the same thing, looking at our community and realizing like, mama, we made it, like we've gotten into financial positions that, our parents and our grandparents might not have been in. So they're doing the same
Correct.
thing. And I think that's something, that's a very harsh reality that we have to kind of tiptoe around right now, because, seeing a bunch of young Black people going and buying up property, especially in these neighborhoods where it was primarily owned by, either, older white people, or like you said, people who have never even set foot in that town, they're going to have to, navigate that space of not allowing themselves to get overwhelmed with the potential for discrimination. And yes, there are laws, that's supposed to protect us from those things, but then the deal is to go and prove it. Do
Right.
you
And
want to
that,
take the money?
who's going to go seek legal counsel and spend money to do it? And see, my man Landrum just popped in here. He's been in the banking industry for years. And he even just popped in and said that discrimination within the banking industry is real. Coming from a Black banker, I mean, I can't even imagine what he sees on his side of the table. Um, with deals trying to be made, and people over top of him saying what you can and can't do, and that that's just the way it is, unfortunately. But yes, that see Jason right here, he's one of my best friends too. We sat down, we had dinner one day. I told him, like, look, I'm gonna tell you everything you need to do. You just gotta go do it.
Yeah.
And then maybe 90 days later, he had his first property.
Nice.
Maybe, I mean, might not even have been 90 days, but so, and then he went from that one to, I think maybe they're at 4 or 5 now. You just have to see it. And that's the part too, where you talk about why don't we do these things. We look at Black people, unfortunately, especially in these younger generations, we're not being raised by people. We're being raised by TV, the media, these things. So they put out what they want us to see about us. We're not getting us from us. We're getting us from other people who are not us. And now it's, we can only be LeBron. We can only be, Pooh Shiesty, or, whoever else it is exhibiting all this self-destructive behavior and stuff. I mean, how many people before, I guess, he paid for all those folks' student loans at Howard, how many people knew who Robert Smith was? Very few people.
Yeah.
And I mean, all that money, venture capitalists, everything. I mean, out here really doing it, but they don't tell us who he is. And when I work with little kids and things like that, I'm like, you guys want to be LeBron, and that's all fine and good, but he plays on a team. Somebody owns that team.
Yeah.
The person that owns that team is writing the check for LeBron. So without that man, LeBron's not getting paid. So do you want to be LeBron, or you want to be the man writing the checks? I remember my second job right out of school. The owner of the company said, it's two kinds of people in this world. One's to sign the front of the check, and one's to sign the back. And which one do you want to be? And I was like, shh, I'm trying to sign the front of that thing so you can know this is me. This is me. So that was powerful.
That's good stuff.
That was really powerful. And that was me at 23 years old, really trying to make a way. I knew I wanted to own. I knew I wanted to be an entity outside of, a major corporation that's pulling the strings, trying to tell me what to do, how to move, who to hire. And that's another big piece of it too, because when you own this, we operate through our own logistical channels. So we're able to hire, small businesses, a lot of minorities to do landscaping, to do. So we're not only putting money in the community, we're keeping it in the hands of those people that live in the community. Once again, like you talk about other communities, the Asian community, Middle Eastern community, and they do all these things too. But for some reason,
Jared, your mic was being weird.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't know where we're at, but just talking about, being able to, since we run the logistical channels for our operations, we hire who we want to hire. Yeah, we hire who we want to hire. So we give people opportunities to do work for us, you know, small businesses or people that, you know, hey, I'm in between jobs, but I can do carpentry, I can paint, I can do all these different things. Let's go ahead and give you an
Oh, that's
opportunity,
so good.
put some money in your pocket too, instead of going to big, you know, corporate, you know, whoever.
Yep.
Let's not just keep the money here, but let's keep the money here.
Yeah. Like I said, you know, and I hate to bring, no, I'm not gonna say I hate to bring it down to that, because I mean, I like to speak in real world, you know, mindset. And real world mindset is when you look at, like I said, the Asian community is a prime example. Whenever you look at their community, they keep everything in the house. And I don't think it's because they, you know, they don't want to or whatever, but like, it just makes sense. It makes sense to invest not only into yourself, but into the community that represents you, into the community where you are raising your children, the community where you would want your grandchildren to be raised, keeping your money there. So, you know, you were talking about how, you know, you make this, you know, this mentions to you to like kids and stuff about, you know, LeBron James and, you know, all of these athletes. But I think from like, you know, my generation, because I'm a little bit older than you, but my generation, and maybe even some of yours, you know, everything was focused on, if you want to make it, you got to be in sports. If you want to make it, you got to be a celebrity. You have to, you know, use your body, right? To be great. You have to be unethical to be great. And here it is, you know, you're pouring into this next generation to say, no, like LeBron James is not the big man. The man
Right.
who pays for LeBron James is the big man. And
Yep.
so we start to put these kids into entrepreneurial mentality at a very early age. So what, you know, because your son is how old?
He's 10.
Oh, okay, we broke up for a bit. So your son is 10.
Yep.
And I bet, Jared.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Your Wi-Fi is trash.
Well, don't do that.
I have to. It wouldn't be me if I didn't. But so of course, kids are still involved in. We might have to get you to sign off and come back on, because
You
the
want me to
reception
drop
is
off
going
and come
in and
back?
out.
You want me to
Yeah,
drop off?
yeah, do that real quick. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Angel's laughing.
Ain't nobody worried about no angel.
Y'all, I so appreciate y'all joining in. Like, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Because like I said, you know, we talked about it while we were at that lunch slash brunch, whatever it was. But just being able to kind of add it, you know, add to it and talk a little bit more on it, like, is really, really good, because I feel like this is information that people really need to know, because like Jared was saying, whenever he first came on, it really is about each one teach one. Whatever it is that, you know, like, we cannot be afraid to share information with each other, because whenever one of us makes it, we all make it. You know, like, we can't just sit back and say, well, this is mine, so, you know, let me hold on. We got to continue to breed this throughout the, you know, our circle, our realm of influence. So, you good?
I'm good. Are you good?
I'm great. I'm always great. But anywho, that's not what we're discussing right now.
No, we're not.
But so, like I said, you know, it used to be all about, you know, making these kids focus on sports. You got to be an athlete. You got to be an athlete. And, you know, as a mother, you know, who raised all of her children in sports, I definitely believe that sports have their place. But I think, you know, it's a good thing that we're starting to help these kids to understand that you don't have it. There are other ways to make it beyond sports. So whenever you look at like how the kids are learning, you know, from your age, because I can say for high school, they are starting to do a lot more when it comes to business, right? They have a lot more opportunities for the children to kind of dibble and dabble in what building a business, what running a business, what from, you know, from concept to failure, you know, and everything in between for a business. They do that in high school. But I'm wondering if they're doing anything with like the younger kids and having them to understand business is, you know, is an opportunity. Being the one who writes the checks is an opportunity.
Not that I see right now, but once again, you know, our son is only 10, but you know, my wife and I, those are things that we, you know, try to talk to our son about. He loves video games, and you know, these kids now, it's like going outside is a punishment, you know, for these. They don't go outside like they used to. But the thing about that is these kids are going to have a different type of brain than we had,
Yeah.
So now there's careers that are geared towards being, video game designers and, I mean,
Web
YouTubers
developers.
making web developers and YouTubers making millions of dollars and things. So I'm all about being well-rounded. Like you said, I don't, push. Obviously, I was a big, sports guy, but
Yeah.
also one of the greatest things about how I grew up is every summer my parents put me in, science camp, computer camp, all these things in order to pique my interest in other places. And the beauty about that is you meet people that are like-minded, but you also get exposed to a whole bunch of different groups of people that you never met before and wouldn't have any dealings with because they live, all the way across town, some other side of town. So that just continues starting to learn how to network and build a network at a young age. I mean, I was like 10 years old and knew kids at every school in the city and the county because of playing sports and being in camps and stuff all across the city. You get older, you cultivate these relationships. And I mean, that's the biggest thing too, is networking. I think people don't, they're starting to, but I still don't think they put enough emphasis on networking because a lot of what most people do is coordination these days. I don't got to know how to change the oil, or carburetor, or build a house. But if I know who does, I can help you out. You can help me out. Once again, we're doing the same things we talked about, but just, with commodities back and forth between each other.
Yeah. And I think people feel like networking is, you have to be, in a suit and tie. And the reality, I'm going to go ahead and put it out here. This is what networking looks like. It looks like you interacting with your gym friend and deciding to go out to dinner to celebrate some random stuff. And you start having a conversation and you recognize what qualities your friend has that goes beyond what they do for their 9 to 5.
Right.
Because we're all surrounded by some amazingly talented people. And all it takes is for us to maybe possibly sit down and have a legitimate, serious conversation. Because most of the times, we goofing off and acting crazy with our friends. But if we stop and, really find out who these people are that we're socializing with, because here it is, like I said, I've known you for a few years now, and I had no idea that that was even a passion of yours. And granted, this has only been going on for less than a year, but you're almost at the year mark and I'm just finding out about it. But all it took was a conversation. We need to have conversations with our circle, the people that we interact with every day. And it doesn't have to be your best friends. It could be your coworker who you find out, oh, they also have a t-shirt printing, company that they have on the side. Oh, okay. Check mark. Keep that little note in the back of my head just because who knows? I may need that at some point, or somebody I know may need it done. So it's not like some big, to do that has to happen in order for you to network. But when it comes to, you have a lot of people who are, in this chat who have made the comment that, you and Angel put them on, and when I say put them on, like you gave them advice, you gave them the information. Have y'all thought about having any sort of classes or putting together like a how-to guide, when it comes to just duplicating what it is that you all did?
I mean, not really, but it's one of those kind of things where we're so open about it. We are always talking about it. I mean, you can ask my wife. I mean, it's like I'm talking to Greg or Angel or somebody like all day. She's like, "You on the phone still?" But we're talking about ways to grow, and talking about ways to grow. We're talking to other people. So it's like you could do. I mean, I see so many people. Everybody's got a seminar, but for only 99 million, you can come here and sit for 2 hours. And we can tell you what we do. That's all fine and good, but we're not just telling you what we do. We're showing you what we do and exactly how we do it. And the thing about it is we've learned from trial and error over the course of the last 10 months, 11 months, that there are some things that we did. We're going to be like, actually, we're not going to tell you this because this was a pitfall. And just because this is the way we're doing it, you don't have to. Like so many people are like, oh, y'all flipping houses because that's what you see on TV. No, we're not flipping houses. We're holding and renting. But the great thing about it is so many people are flipping in some of these neighborhoods. They're building our equity for us and we don't have to do anything. Yeah. Okay, you can buy this one and you can put 50,000 into it and sell it for whatever else. We're holding this one that somebody's lived in it for 7 years. The owner's selling it. We're going to keep them in here because we don't. And that's another. I'm grateful to Angel because we have the same mindset. We're not just pulling up. Oh, well, we know we can get X amount of dollars for rent. If we have bumped somebody's rent up, it's been like 5 or 10%. you know, and some of these people have been paying the same rent for 7 years. So that little bit of increase is not a big deal, but we're not putting anybody out. We've not
Yeah.
put anybody out of the homes because most of the homes we purchased have had tenants in them. So, you
Okay.
know, that's another thing too. Some people get in here, well, I know there's more money to be made, so I'm putting you out. That's not the goal. We
Yeah.
don't do that. And we have even looked at some situations and decided not to even pursue certain properties because the bottom line of it is like, well, we have to put these people out. So let's just, you know, let's not even do that because we don't even want to get down like that.
Yeah.
Because that's
So,
not helping.
well, no, and that, I mean, that kind of defeats the goal of what you all were talking about, because it is a twofold venture that y'all have, right? Or at
Right.
least twofold. It's not only, being able to invest, but, financially, but being able to invest socially within the
Correct.
community and building the community up. So, you have other people who, you guys have put out there, and I'm sure there's probably other, investors that are out there. Do y'all have conversations to, kind of, feed off of each other when it comes to certain properties, what should or should not be done, or, just kind of advising one another, even though you might not necessarily be a business partner, but you are a business interest? Because if they're out there buying certain properties and flipping houses, like you said, they're building equity for you and increasing your property value, and vice versa. If you guys are renting out to people and keeping the community, looking proper, like you said, having landscapers out, giving that curb appeal, are y'all having these conversations? Like, are y'all networking within your own little real estate world?
We are to an extent. I mean, we're talking about what people are doing. Hey, we're going to put, we're going to wrap this house in vinyl or something, or we're going to do this. So talking about different ways of doing things, adding to the value, what adds value. I mean, that's one of the kind of things when you get in real estate as an investor or an agent or whatever, there's certain things you can do to a home that add value. You can do certain things to a home that add to the look and appeal of it, but there's no monetary gain there for you. So a lot of things we talk about are, if you do this, this is what you can get out of it later on, or you maybe need to do this to meet a certain city requirement or things like that, because there's grant programs and tax abatement programs and things like that we're working through as well. So the more we stay abreast of that information, we can give that out as well. Okay, cool, we've gone through the tax abatement program, we've gotten our homes looked at again, so this is how you do that, this is how you get the grant, all these different things we're talking through and working with other people as we do it and getting information from them as they do it as well.
Okay, you're going, and I meant to bring this up earlier, but you're going back into your old community, your old stomping ground. And I know for myself, there's still a lot of the people that I grew up with who didn't, they kind of stayed in that same mentality. So they're still there. Like, how do you run into any kind of issues with them being like, not like, don't come here trying to run stuff like you used to be, right? Like, do you run into that at all?
There was one instance where a potential tenant, we graduated from school.
Your microphone. Are you?
Is it better now?
Yeah.
We ran into one situation where a previous classmate of mine, she and her significant other and children were looking at renting a place from us, and we got to start doing better with that too. Because as soon as she saw me, now she wanted to negotiate on the rent, and it's like, man, it's look.
But if this was Joe Schmo, would you be trying to negotiate on the rent? And
Nope.
if you weren't trying to negotiate on the rent, would you be trying to negotiate and rob me as much as what you are?
Right. That's it. And it's like,
See?
what? And that's the thing. Me being the person I am, and Angel being the person she is. I went and talked to her. We tried to work with them a little bit, but it's like, when you give them an inch, they try to take a mile. So it didn't work out. But we were going to try to give them a little bit of a break, simply because we went to school together. So obviously we're doing this to help out, but sometimes you can't help everybody, and that's just the way it works.
Yeah, but I mean, as much as there's heart behind it, it's still a business that you owe money for. Like, correct, you have to be fiscally responsible.
You have to tell. I've had that conversation too. Like, look, we have to pay for this. You know what I'm saying? So we're not trying to have none of this, but this is our investment. So now, we got to have you take care of this property in a way that you would take care of if you own it. You know what I mean? So there's had to be some of those conversations, but you will hear people just be so happy. That's like, oh my God, you don't understand like where we came from, the conditions that we were living in. The house was almost about to be condemned. There's people that have been super, super grateful for the opportunities that we've been, allowing them to have. And that's a big part of, why we're really doing it. Not doing it so you can come say, hey man, I know, what's good, y'all. I know we used to hoop back in the day. Can I pay $250?
Yeah, no.
Not gonna happen. But they try. People try. I mean, I ain't mad at them. They got to try it, but
yeah, it's like somebody just said, the black discount. It always comes up. It always comes up.
Always.
I mean, the thing is, if you feel like what I'm asking for is too much, go somewhere else. I assure you, there's somebody else. Now, granted, you still might not get the deal that you want, but if what I'm offering you is not in your lane, no hard feelings. I get it. It's business.
It is.
So, I mean, they can try, but at the end of the day, you guys definitely have to look out for the fact that, like in your case, right? Your son's college money is on the line. You can't just sit back and, yes, have a heart about it, but you got to still be smart about it. So
that's like you said, that's it. Have a heart, but be smart.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do that in every aspect of my life, so whatever. But, that's for another show. But so now you and Angel, y'all have the 9 properties, and these properties are all back in your old hometown?
Yeah, we have, it's 11. It's 11 now. So it's 11, back in the hometown.
Okay, then, because it was 9. But so you want to come up, like, no, seriously, like and I know, like, Jared and Angel are damn near brother and sister, like the way that they function together. So I love the fact that y'all, are able to take a friendship relationship and still be able to do business and do it properly. Because, for some people, y'all can be friends, but y'all can't do business together. But what you said, other people might not have even caught it, but you said you love that you and Angel have the same mindset when it comes to business.
Yep.
So I definitely appreciate the fact that y'all ventured into that space, but people need to realize it ain't for every friendship.
And that's exactly true. And even though we have the same mentality when it comes to business, she still has her strong points. I have my strong points, and we work well together because things that are not my strengths are not hers, or vice versa. So it works. It really does work. And you have to find, some people can do this, on their own. Some people it'd be better to get partners, but that's one thing you got to look at too, because you can't go into business with everybody. So you have to be smart about that as well from a partnership perspective.
Yeah. So what's the move now? What is the goal? 5 years from now, where do y'all want to be?
So 5 years from now, I'd like to say we want to continue to grow, but at this point, we're pretty maxed out as far as the money that we put into it. So now we're kind of at a maintenance and sustainment phase. So we're trying to take, look at Angel. Talking is one of my strengths. Yeah, somebody got to do it.
Somebody got to do it, because Angel will just sit there and be pretty. No, I'm just...
So yeah, we're trying to make some improvements and enhancements to some of the properties. One of the biggest things for us too is we didn't want to take any money out of the business early on, so we haven't taken any profits out. We're putting money back in. Here she go too. Everybody wants to get so disrespectful.
Wow, they just in the comments unloading on him.
That's all right.
That's love though, Jared. That's love.
They're gonna be mad when I stop talking.
What's wrong?
Yeah, well, are you okay? Nah. But so yes, we'd love to continue to grow, but where we are right now with the money that we have invested in the business, we want to make some enhancements, some improvements, do some things that kind of continue to bring the value of the houses up. And I mean, I've said it before, I'd like to take over the city from a standpoint of let's just buy it. And we tried to branch out into Danville because, with the casinos and things like that they're building out in Danville, it was a good idea. But when we are people like us who have a little bit of money and relying heavily on financing from the bank, a lot of these big money cash buyers came to the area and just, cash is king. So everything we wanted to put offers in on, well, they're offering that or more in cash. So that's another part. So you can't get frustrated because they're so competitive lots of times with the investment market because there are so many people that come in with straight cash.
Yeah.
So you have to be very calculated. You might want it. You can't buy everything like we already talked about. You have to look at things and see what makes sense. And one of the things that we did that makes it, we have 3 properties on the same street. And that's one of the streets I was telling you about where people have come in and are doing some of the flipping. So I'm renovating and flipping. So the equity is all the way up on the street. And we have 3 on the same street. So that was really, a thing that I was like beating Angel over the head about. We need this one, this one, this one, this one. She's like, okay. And then down the street, she's like, we're not buying anymore. And then the one came down the street and she was the one pushing for that one. So it's when you have the same mindset, again, like I talked about, we saw it. We see that this street is going to be a street that's going to be running things for a while. So we're here. Let's just get what we can on this street.
Okay. So I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. It's obvious, like, you have no problem sharing the knowledge, helping people understand. So if somebody was interested in, I guess, understanding how you did things, because granted, everybody will not be able to come and, take a road trip, which I'll be honest, I'm probably going to take you up on it one of these days whenever you let me know that you're going out there. Like, I would love to be able to go and see and, and visualize and make it make sense. Because like I said at the very beginning of this is something that has, sat on my heart for a while, because I recognize the exact same things back in my own hometown and my home area, where you have, people living in properties that are borderline condemnable, right? And I'm fortunate and I'm blessed enough to where I feel like it's something that I can do, but I'm one of those who I'm cautious about taking financial risks, because raising my kids, I'm like, oh, can I take that chance? And now with my kids getting older, well, aside from the fact that LSU is probably going to hurt my bank account, but like I want to put myself out there and start looking into leaving my legacy that's just beyond me raising some awesome human beings, but also a legacy of financial stability and the opportunity to have financial growth, even that started long before they even touched it. So I do want to go out there with you. But if there's other people who are watching this, because of course it'll be on Instagram and I'll post it on YouTube as well, how do people get in contact with you? And what are you willing to share? Like, what can you help them out with?
We'll give it to them straight. I mean, it's like the best kind of dope there is, raw and uncut. We'll just give it to you. We will. I mean, and Angel will too. We have no problem with that. They can reach out. You can give them my IG or my phone number. It doesn't matter. Whatever they need, we'll help them with. And the other thing that I want to point out too is, it's a pretty safe thing that we're doing, because people look at real estate and the market fluctuates. But when you're doing holds and renting, the property value can fluctuate all you want to. The rent doesn't. When you're locked in, when you're locked into that rate, that mortgage, if you're paying $400, to your lender, and that person's paying you $750 to live there, the property value can do all this, but your 400s to 400, their 750s to 750. So you minimize the risk there. You're not going here, well, I might have to, buy this and sit on it for 6 months before I can sell it at the price that I want to. You're good. As long as if you're holding in rent and that's what you want to do, go do it. You're good. There's
the stability in it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Jared, I appreciate it. Like I said, we'll connect on the outside of this and figure out some sort of time. But so again, thank you for this, Angel. Even though she's not on here, congratulations. I really appreciate and respect what it is that y'all doing, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation. So hopefully it encourages other people to realize, because, and that's another thing. I know. How old are you, Jared?
35.
35 people. It's not about waiting until you're 60. It's not about waiting until your kids are grown and gone. Because he has a son, So he took a risk. And Angel is out here doing the same thing, taking a risk with him as her partner. So if y'all have questions, of course, you'll be able to see Jared's information, and I'm going to put Angel's information as well.
Do it. Because really and truly, we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Angel. I mean, we had these conversations, but someone came to her and she was like, I really appreciate that, because she wasn't going to do it without me. So she said, she talked for like 30 seconds. Like, let's do it. Like, I was ready to go.
Angel talked for 30 seconds because she knew that you were the mouthpiece.
She knew that I didn't need that much convincing. Let's do it.
No, but seriously, so I'm going to make sure that people can get in contact with y'all, because it's obvious that y'all are onto something great, something amazing, and it's beyond just, building your own bank account, but it's about building a community. And I think that's probably the best part of the whole story. So thank you for sharing that with me, you know, and I'm grateful that I was able to to remember it through all the drinks that ended up flowing that day. And I look forward to having some more drinks with you. And Angel, make sure you're around so you can come next time too. But thank y'all, everybody, for
they're so ignorant in the comments. They're so ignorant.
I'm not paying attention to them because I already know, Jared, it's the stuff that you and I do too. So, you know,
I know.
This whole chat has been family. Very family.
Absolutely. I love these people in here. I mean, you got lifelong friends and family of mine in here, and I appreciate, you know, them for you know, chiming in and tapping in with you, and hopefully they'll be, you know, joining your other talks as well to get information. Or, I mean, a lot of these people in here, I mean, like I said, I've got bankers in here. My good friends Reggie and Keen are in here. They own a Black-owned candle company out of Richmond, Virginia. So, I mean, amazing candles. They're great. But great. It's a lot of great people in here.
And I will go ahead and say this, and I rarely say it on here, but I constantly say it on my page. Anytime anyone wants to have a conversation with me, I love, you know, somebody mentioned it earlier. Networking isn't just about talking to the people within your circle. It's also about talking to strangers. And that's one thing Jared and I got in common. I will talk to anybody for any length of time about anything under the sun. So if there's anybody who is ready to come on here and have a conversation, of course, let me know. I will schedule it and we will have a conversation. We will let people know what you are about, what services you provide, what knowledge you have, so we can all be out here on some each one teach one, so we can all be elevated. Jared, I appreciate you. Everybody that joined in, I appreciate y'all, and I will see y'all next Tuesday. Jared, I'll see you sooner.
Yep. Take care.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.